Welcome to 13 minutes of gig news in 13 minutes or less. Happy Mother's Day, everybody. Happy Mother's Day. Give it up for some moms. Yeah. Um, yeah. Uh, Lots of them out there, lots of them in our community, even. So I'm not even gonna go through it all because there's too many. But happy Mother's Day, everybody. Let's jump in. It's time. Um, Sorry about this running a little late too. By the way, guys, this is the second Sunday of 13 minutes of news. So before I go too deep with this, I'm moving it back to Saturday. So the Saturday drop was better. So next week we're back at Saturday. It will drop at 4 p.m. or I'm sorry, is it 4? 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on Saturdays. We're back there, and it will be scheduled and already up, so it won't just kind of show up on Saturdays. But yeah, this Sunday is not working out so well, not just because of Mother's Day, but last week was hard too. I thought this would be easier, but we're gonna go back to Saturday next week. Back. So tried something. Gonna go back. But let's jump in. So some quick stories that we talked about this week. Rideshare, and then we'll get to some other Instacart and some other stuff. So rideshare, we are looking at in Illinois. Um, there is a push to make them common carriers. A common carrier uh, is a taxi, a bus, a train, um, a plane. I'm trying to think of, yeah. Oddly, there was some odd ones too. An elevator is a common carrier, even if the building is zoned. So it's weird, but common carriers um, need to. Um, it's a different insurance. It's a different cost to these drivers, but all of these drivers who do these jobs have to pay this in Illinois, and they're pushing for rideshare to have to do it. Um, the companies have put out a threat, or not a threat, a response saying that if this bill goes through, they will leave the state. We're starting to see a few of these come up. These things by Uber where we've only seen this actually play out once. Where a state said, "Hey, you got to do this, and you got to do it by this date. If not, you have to leave the state on the state." And the only state that did that was California. When it came time to the date, they elected to allow Lyft and Uber to stay and have their vote on the November ballot, and that was in February of 2020. And so they were allowed to wait and have the vote on Prop 22. But we'll see how these other states go. If Illinois does this, crazy times. I mean, we'll see. I've talked to Sergio and some others about this, and we just don't see them leaving. But it's just so, I mean, they probably won't leave because the city will, in one way or another, fold because they actually rely on these transportation networks now. They're not just to go out on the in the evenings. They actually serve a purpose in getting people to work and back now. And due to the pandemic, we've lost buses, and even in cities like Chicago, there aren't as many buses on the routes. There aren't many bus drivers. There aren't as many cabs because the rideshare companies came in because cabs were failing. Now there's not as many cabs because the rideshare companies came in and the pandemic didn't help. So now people rely on rideshare. So can you get rid of it? Or is it like how we don't like mentioning it, but about companies, is it too big to fail? Can they not do this? It's going to be interesting. In Connecticut, there's two bills going on. There's the one for $36 and active time on all gig platforms, and there's the one for and $1.30 a mile. Don't see that happening. If it does, again, all the gig companies in the Flex Association have said we're gone from Connecticut if this happens. So um, I mean, I think all of us can agree that what could be in rideshare $100 an hour guaranteed, and what 50, 60 for food delivery. And I mean, I'm all for good pay, guys, but guaranteed. I mean, that's just part of this game. Is you're not going to be guaranteed $60 to $100 an hour. It's not going to happen. Um, So, I don't think that one will go anywhere. The other bill that was up is the one for rideshare, where they wanted minimum hourly pay. They wanted um, health benefits, some other things, and that one just literally got shot down, done, gone. But the big one I want to talk about with rideshare, this is big, you guys. Let me get here because this one's Minnesota, and so the Senate Judiciary Committee voted to send a bill regulating Uber and Lyft to the floor on Wednesday night. This is in Minnesota, Twin Cities, with the caveat that they are not recommending its passage. Not recommending its passage. So, committee chair um, Ron Latz said he's not sure the bill should become law or that he would vote for it if it even hits the Senate. So, um, here's the quote from Latz. I really don't like passing bills out of this committee that I don't think are ready to become law. Right now, I don't think this bill is ready to become law because of its language and stuff. So they sat there and they fought till um, into the evening hours because they what they've done in Minnesota is they've attached this to another bill or to a handful of bills. And this is why this is a bigger problem. Like, well, why don't they just push it and vote on it later? Well, because they've attached it to a couple other bills that have been waiting to go through that need funding. And so if this gets held up, it could hold up the other bills. Okay. So the link is in this story I ran yesterday alone on Saturday. It was run alone. It's not a bunch of stories to look through on Saturday's post on Rideshare Rodeo. It is just this story. So go and check it out because there's more to read about like what happened and stuff. But here's the end. And again, you're going to hear me say here Uber lobbyist, but I want you to really listen to to the reasons why this isn't gonna why this couldn't pass. And they did have to say, well, we're gonna, they're trying to push it, they're pushing it to the side. They're not killing the bill yet, like I would say if it was done, but they're pushing it to the side hard because, and I mean, let's agree, this is a pretty good reason. So Uber lobbyist Joel Carlson said there isn't insurance on the market that met the bill's earlier requirement of providing up to 1 million in medical costs. So, okay, Uber, there is no insurance carrier that is available to Uber. It's not even a cost thing. It's not like, well, that one costs 10 times as much. We're not going to do that. It's not even that. There is not a carrier available to Uber to provide 1 million in medical costs, and the bill was going to require that. So let's do the math. Uber's always trying to cut corners and save money. I'm not defending it. But what I am saying is if there isn't, if a bill says you need to have this insurance coverage of $1 million for medical, and Uber's saying, listen, that insurance doesn't exist. I mean, almost like go ahead and just tell me which company and we'll go look into the pricing and figure it out. But the bottom line is that doesn't exist. That doesn't exist for any company. So how do we meet that standard? Real easy, which is crazy. You don't. I know that this bill is being pushed by Omar up there, Senator Omar, and that is a big push for the taxi industry. So are they just trying to literally end Uber by saying you need to carry this? Because look, I mean, again, I'm so sick of reading these bills where I'm like, why am I able to go and find out details and things that they didn't know when they wrote the bill? And they're pointing one out here. Like when it happened in Colorado, I found a bunch on my own. But in here, they're pointing it out. Well, there isn't $1 million medical cost. So how are we even going to carry that? Like, why doesn't the other side know that when they write this bill? But here's the bigger one, you guys. And this, I didn't even know. This is, I mean, ridiculous. And again, I think it shows they're just trying to kick Uber out. They don't, it's almost like they just want their cabs And they just are saying, Uber, get out, because the bill also requires the companies to, and now remember, they are also asking for wrongful deactivation, that you can appeal that. I agree with that. They are also asking for um oh, and then so here, the bill also requires the flex time remains. So you can still work flex time, all the things we like. If you get deactivated, you can appeal it. Okay, that's fine with me. But here's the kicker, and here's where, as much as I don't want to side with Uber, I have to. All of us would have to, because this is ridiculous. The bill also requires the companies to insure drivers anytime they're logged into the app, which the company said would be ripe for abuse, um, since the drivers multi-app, and might have this app on while doing a ride for that. But let's even go a little deeper. I mean, might be ripe for abuse. Oh my God, yes. And here's the bigger abuse. If you're going out, why wouldn't you just always turn on Uber? And I mean, literally, maybe people don't get this out of the box, but you could go buy cheaper insurance and just always have Uber covering like half, in case, like, if you're driving anybody. I already see abuses coming down this in hundreds of ways. Like, you would just always turn, even if you're not working the app, you would turn it on for extra coverage. I mean, there is just this kind of stuff. Like, you have to have $1 million medical insurance. That doesn't exist. Oh, well, you have to have it. You also have to uh you have to insure drivers anytime they log on to the app. Come on. Come on. You know what that would do too? Let me tell you this. Everybody that drinks and drives might as well become an Uber or Lyft driver in Minnesota, because you know why? You could just go get drunk and turn the app on. I mean, I guess not, because they would get you for drinking, but yeah, you get my point. This is ridiculous. This is asking way too much. And if it's just that they want the taxis back, just say that. Just go for that, but don't make things like impossible. That was heavy. I didn't even get into any of the other stuff. Next week, back on Saturdays, 13 minutes of news in 13 minutes or less. And happy Mother's Day. And I'll see you back here next week. Peace.